Welcome back to our next episode of Uncivil Discourse, hosted by Lee,
Hello.
myself, and our guest commentator this year, Jeff.
How's it going?
Damn it. Retort. Quick, Lee, come up with a retort.
I mean, I can start writing in crayon for you.
Yeah. Don't do that. It's a waste of paper. This past 2 weeks have been very interesting. We've seen some really interesting skill spends come in. We're starting to see some gunnery skills and, mobility skills, which is cool. It usually takes 2 or 3 weeks for all the engineering type skills to get worked out. So that's going to be a large number of our spends this next couple of weeks. But, those are the interesting ones too.
Yeah, we've seen some interesting skills getting shaken out of the tree here this week. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more coming along the way, and Brett will enlighten us here shortly on what those skill spends were exactly.
Make sure you get your spends in early and often, mainly because we're seeing some people that are ending up banking points because they got their last emails into us after the cutoff date and time, which is Sunday, 5 p.m., 1 week after game day. If you're sending us emails after that, we may read them, we may respond to them, but we're not acting upon them because we can't. We have to be fair to everybody, and we also have to give Brett and the rest of the admin team an opportunity to do those redesigns, to get those mechs ready and ready for you for the next week. So what'll end up happening is if your skill points are banked, you can spend them next week on whatever it is you need.
All right, then. On to skill spends, since that's what we're talking about. We're going to bang through these kind of quick because there is 32 of them and we don't want to be here for 32 hours. So, starting off with Condo's Janissaries, picking up Bribery and Technician on the Yuhang. The starting BV was 2,074. They requested to swap the LB-20 for a plasma rifle and add Case 2. We added 2 tons of ammo for that, Case 2, an anti-missile system with 1 ton of ammo, ECM, and upgraded the 2 medium lasers to pulse lasers, giving it 3 medium pulse in total. It keeps the LRM-10 and the ARPPC, ending up with 16 double heat sinks. New BV is 2218 for an increase of 144.
Second lance up is the Kel's Keshik. They reassigned the Cataphract into the T-Zang 9C. As well, the Kel Keshiks take Underworld contacts for the Fafnir. It started off at 2449. They pull in some ECM. They drop the C3I unit to make weight for that ECM and another ton of ammo in the legs. Total BV now is 2548 with an increase of 99 points.
Friendshield Dragoons reassigned their Vindicator 3L into a Vindicator 5L.
The Rebinets chassis upgrade the Rifleman into a Warhammer 6RB.
Riston's Rogues engineers their Kintaro 21. Started BV was 1295. Adds jump jets. Moves all the weapons to the torsos from the arms for that nice double punch ability, the 1-2. Adds Beagle Octoprobe. To get this weight, they put in an XL engine, bringing the armor 1 point shy of 100%, 184 to 185. 11 double heat sinks helps beat out that heat. With his max heat with movement included is 23, dissipating 22, so only an increase of 1. The new BV is 1415, an overall increase of 120.
Fox Knights engineered the Grasshopper 5H. The base BV on that was 1427. We've swapped the LRM-5 for the C3I upgrade. The large laser to an ERPPC. We added ECM, upgraded the armor to 216 of 217, and upgrade the 4 medium lasers to pulse, and add a 5th medium pulse laser, Beagle, 3 small lasers, and 13 double heat sinks. The new BV is 1692, or an increase of 265.
Neon Betons ends up banking.
Half Cut, they reassign one of their clanners, swapping out that Ice Ferret for a Shadow Cat TC.
The Vengeful Ones get some bribery on their elementals, and the Lancelot picks up Underworld contacts to upgrade its armor
To ferrofibers. Kenkazi Bank.
The Al Shane regulars, Lancelot gets upgraded to a Blackhawk KU, the BHKU-O.
Tin Man's Tin Cans, Thunderbolt picks up Gunnery.
Nace CIT ends up missing cutoff and banks.
The Radiant Raven Raiders, Avatar G, Underworld contacts, adds Endo. Started off at 1775. This upgrades the armor up to 208 of 217 for 96% coverage. Upgrades both case to case 2 to protect that engine. Adds ECM. The new BV is 1913 with a total overall BV increase of 138.
Merrick Militia's Marauder picks up Crystal Alignment to pick up all those clan rages for their ER lasers.
It's like somebody did that last year too.
Geez, I don't know who.
First Dracon's Vikings. It drops the machine guns and the ammo. It upgrades both case to case 2 in the torsos. It adds 1 double heatsink and half a ton of armor up to 256 out of 279. Old BV 2079, new BV 2082 for a 3 BV increase. This was a technician skill.
Fenrir's Frost Fangs. They take that archer and give it Thunderstruck and favorite weapon LRM 15.
The Blitzkrieg Jezebels clan salvage the Blitzkrieg's AC into an LB-20X.
Devil's Brigade clan salvaged the other M20 on the Hotman, but this came in late, so we haven't done the mod yet, so unsure of what the extra tonnage is going to be spent on. It was on time, so it got in before cutoff. We just haven't had a chance to build it yet.
Another reason to get them in early so we can get this information back to you earlier too. The Pit Vipers. Engineering up that assassin, but it came in right at the deadline, so we don't know how yet, but they did get the spends in. We'll let you know as soon as we can about what those upgrades are.
The Wolfpack's Thunderbolt picks up Hyperactive.
Thumper's Revenge, the longbow, picks up Pathfinder.
Cat's Nightingale Cavalry, the Lynx, adds mobile fire.
Ansgar's Outlaws chassis upgrade the Warhammer 7S to a Marauder 5D.
We'll have to double check this one, but I was currently unable to find an email from Hogan's Heroes to get the skill spend in. If it's there and I've missed it, we'll update with what their spend was. Otherwise, it's banked.
Wendigo's Night Stalkers. They did the most common spend for this type of mech. The Awesome picks up favorite weapon PPC.
Abashi's Avengers Kronos picks up Mobile Fire.
Paxton's Pathfinders Marauder 2 4A. A starting BV of 2073, engineering for double heatsinks, ER PPCs, and asking for pulse lasers. We drop half a ton of armor down to 296 out of 307, still 97% coverage. It gains 2 ER PPCs instead of the 2 standards. It has 2 large pulse lasers, 2 medium pulse lasers, 17 double heatsinks. It generates 33 at range, 31 at close, adds ECM. The new BV is 2268. An increase of 195.
The Dead Man's Hand, the Huron Warrior, started up at 1530 BV, took Underworld contacts to grab double heat sinks because the mech is horribly underheated, changes to doubles and drops 1 because it doesn't need 11 of them, added case 2 for the Gauss Rifle Arm, the new BV is 1539, a meager 9 BV increase.
Red Sun's Irregulars chassis upgrade the Pouncery into a Dragonfly A.
League of Robots, the Ice Ferret D, starting BV is 1653. They use engineering to pick up a new speed of 7117. They drop the anti-missile system. It ends up with 136 out of 137 armor, 12 double heatsinks, generates 23 max heat, so it will dissipate 24, keeps the 4 medium pulse lasers, adds a targeting computer.
The Teddy Bear Parade in the last entry, their Kodiak picks up combat wisdom to protect that pilot. Now, looking through all of these spends, they've been really well thought out, spent, and those mech changes have been amazing. I did notice, Brett, you and I are 3-9 BV difference. It's funny how little tweaks that we know are going to improve our mechs ended up being such a low increase. The Vengeful Ones, their elementals picking up bribery is more like back alley intimidation. They're going to make sure that the Solaris 7 group give them the side of the battlefield they want. Overall, I see a couple of mechs that are just uber powerful. I know the Fenrir's Frostfangs at Archer That Thunderstruck and favorite weapon LRM-15 is a same set of skills I think he took with that archer last year. And a couple of these other ones are just brutally. League of Robots, that Ice Ferret is now scary with 4 medium pulse lasers and a targeting computer. And I really like how JP is buying in heavy with the plasma rifle. He's dropped 2 autocannon 20s for plasma rifles. Less damage, but he gets that nice little wild card of heat.
So that means we've got 7 people that changed their ride this week. 13 people that use the engineering skill to modify a mech, or an engineering type skill to modify a mech. And only 5 people pick up gunnery modifications, and a couple of other people pick up some non-gunnery related skills.
All right, let's take a look at the matches from the last week. Game number 1, the Remnants Comstar versus Radiant Ravens Raiders Free Worlds League.
So these teams meet in Arena 28, the Devil's Bath, with a 2-1 final score for the RRR Radiant Raven Raiders. The Devil's Bath is like running around in the hoodoos of Drumheller, Alberta, Canada, with lots of no lines of sight until the conga line came around the corner, and then the Battlemaster popped the Thunder Rock in the head with a large and a medium laser. That Thunder Rock's luck is just horrible. The Remnants Rifleman, in his last scene battle, got slayed by the Archer. The Remnants did get a little bit of revenge with the Avatar dropping the Radiant Ravens Raiders Avatar, so we'll Avatar on Avatar violence.
Game number 2, the Dead Man's Hand, which is St. Ives, versus Cat Nightingale Cavalry Mercs. The Mines again see some mayhem from Arena number 27 for its 3rd match this season.
So, summarizing that up though, the Huron Warrior killed by the guillotine in 4 turns. The Banshee dropped 2 turns later by the Lynx. 2 more turns go by with the Lynx dropping the Caesar. And finally in turn 9, the Jagermech is finished off by the Sad Cat. Looks like this is a cavalry blowout.
Game number 3, we see the Teddy Bear Parade, which is the Warden clans, up against the Pit Vipers, representing the Lyrans. Arena 14, the Desert Oasis, has another pretty lopsided engagement.
Yeah, in turn 5, the Viper's Fafnir took 3 head hits, then a Gauss rifle explosion for a total of 5 pilot hits and a dead mech. The next turn, the Marauder goes down, followed by the Thunderbolt. The Teddy Bears Kodiak bring home all 3 kills. 3-0 for the Teddy Bear Parade this time around.
Game number 4, the League of Robots, one of our clan factions, versus the Wolf Pack, one of our mercenary factions. Our Wooded Hills Arena, number 8, sees some action.
Off to an early start, the Wolfpack double boxcars and double sixes blows off the Ice Ferret's left leg on turn 2. The Marauder 2 finished it off in turn 5, and then the Thunderbolt quickly dispatching the Glass Spider in the following turn. The robots managed to come back though, dropping the Thunderbolt, the Marauder 2, and the Night Sky. Daishi to the rescue. So in the end, it is a 3-2 victory for the League of Robots.
That brings us to game number 5. First Merrick Militia, representing the Free Worlds League, versus Thumper's Revenge, representing Mercs. This was played on the Lake Lazi Arena, number 24, for our map rotation.
This match goes around and around for the entire game, but in the end, the Awesome falls down thanks to the Bunny's Grasshopper, so Thumper's Revenge goes 2-0 with a 1-0 victory.
Game number 6, Hogan's Heroes Mercenaries versus Devil's Brigade Lyran. Due to illness, this match ends up getting missed. Hogan's Heroes pick up a second bye win.
Game number 7, we have the NASIT and AIS-CIT representing the Lyrans up against Renshield's Dragoons, the Capellans. Arena 2, the Deathly Desert, gets a little play with a 2-0 finale for the NAIS CIT Lyrans.
I never thought I would be talking about a blackjack, but it ends up getting both the Victor and the Vindicator kills Those LB10Xs were hot today for NACIT.
Game number 8, the Tin Man's Tin Cans, representing Fed Sons, versus Fenrir's Frostfangs, Free Razzlehog Republic. Another week, another match that lets the fans down due to unforeseen circumstances. Tin Mans pick up the bye win on this one as well.
I think we're going to see this is going to be a record season for bye wins. Game number 9, the first Drakons, Free Razzlehog Republic, up against the Neon Beatons clan. Area 20, the Gravel Experience, has a rip-roaring good time.
The Drakons, so sure of victory to come, went out drinking that night, or something. I'm not 100% sure what it was, but they failed a massive 18 piloting checks, falling over more than a 3-legged steer.
The Nova got an Alpha Strike with 9 out of 10 heavy lasers, hitting the Shadowhawk and killing it, while the Warhawk takes out both the Axeman and the Viking in this match. And it should have been the Black Knight as well, after hitting it in the head with a large pulse laser, but those pesky elementals sneak in with the kill shot with the SRMs. 4-0 for the Beatons over the Drakons.
Game number 10, we have the Alshane Regulars, the DCMS Draconis combined forces, up against the Red Sun Irregulars, one of our favorite clanners. Lucky number 13, the Endless Hills, is where these two teams meet, in a 3-2 match for the Red Suns Irregulars.
Elementals get the credit for killing the Lancelot, the Archer took out the Dragon, and the Widowmaker Daishi ended up getting a bad case of crabs. In return, the Pouncer and the Archer are both taken out by the Thunder Chicken.
Game number 11, Ansgar's Outlaws Mercenaries versus Kenkazi DCMS. Arena 9, the River Basin. Neither players love this map. All the water, everywhere, in all of those little streams, even if it is only level 0.
Yeah, the Outlaws Rakshasa got taken out by the Atlas. The Warhammer was abused horribly by the Wraith. Then in return, the Marauder and the Maelstrom from the Kenkazi were both killed by the Griffin, and the Atlas got taken out by a lucky headshot from the 100-ton Marauder from behind with a snub-nosed PPC. 3-2 for the Outlaws' victories.
Game number 12, Riston's Rogues Comstar versus Foch Knights, also Comstar. Playing on the other river map, Arena 4, the River Valley, has this Calm Guard grudge match.
The only rogue mech to die is the Shootist that killed itself in a fall, which was starting to make it look like the Foch Knights were going to do a pretty good chance of taking it to the Riston Rogues. While on the other side, the Perseus ended up claiming 2 kills, the Grasshopper and the Phoenix Hawk. 2-1 Riston victory.
Game number 13, Kondo's Janissaries, Capellan, versus Kel's Keshik, also Capellan, on Arena 23, the Kozais Valley. I tell you, this was a throwdown, and it was a throwdown in very favorable situation for the Kondo's Janissaries with all their jump-capable mechs. That Kozais Valley map is a very hilly arena.
The Fafnir took out the Helios, but the Janissaries take out all of the Keshik. The Yu-Hang claimed the Fafnir and the Warhammer. The Helios took out the Cataphract, and the Penetrator got that Scorpion. Overall, a big match between two Capellan forces and a good showcase of their technology.
Brett and I both called this as a tie last week, and I put in the caveat that it comes down to whether somebody's dice go hot, and I tell you, JP's dice were on fire. 10s and 11s, 9s, 10s and 11s, not a problem through that game for him to hit. And mine were complete garbage most of the time. We averaged, with modifiers and stuff, on average was 8 to 10 for any of us to be shooting. And it just, it was definitely, with his ability to jump around and get over those hills and stuff, a lot easier. It ended up being the perfect map for JP. And it was a hell of a match too. Went 20, I want to say it was 23 or 23 to 27 turns. I can't remember the exact number anymore, but it was a high turn count going back and forth. Hell of a game. Really enjoyed it, JP. Look forward to seeing you next time that I get to play you.
Game number 14, Paxton's Pathfinders, St. Ives versus Abishai's Avengers, The Periphery. Arena number 29, The Desert, one of our neoprene mats. These gentlemen meet and compete to a 4-0 Abishai's victory.
The Abishai's Black Knight takes out Paxton's newly acquired Black Knight. The Kronos gets the credit for the Marauder 2. Geez, that's a heck of a jump up. The Flashman took out the Orion and the Wraith.
Game number 15, the Vengeful Ones playing Clan versus Blitzkrieg Jezebels, one of our Lyran players. The Rolling Hills Arena has this fight where the Vengeful got lucky and brought home a 4-2 victory.
The Dire Wolf shot the Blitzkrieg on pretty high numbers and took off the head. Then headshots the Goliath and does 3 engine crits to the Avatar, while the Battlecrow snakes in the Barghest kill. Now the Barghest did take off the head of the Lancelot with his heavy gauze rifle, and the Avatar does a repeat and gets 3 engine hits to kill the Battle Cobra in a single volley of fire. So it was a good fight, but when you got good dice like what the Vengeful Ones had, what are you going to do, right? 3 head kills? Nothing you can do.
Game number 16, Half Cut, the Clanners versus Wendigo's Night Stalkers in the Periphery. Arena number 11, the Plains of Death are good for the Night Stalkers this week.
The Night Stalkers lose the guillotine to the Ice Ferret. However, that was their only kill. In return, the guillotine claimed the Warhammer. The Marauder takes out the Warhawk and the Ice Ferret, while that Wolverine hunted down the Dragonfly. 4-1 victory for the Wendigo's Night Stalkers. The clans are having a bit of a tough time. I thought they'd be more solid. Okay, well that takes care of the Week 2 games in review. Now, moving on to the Week 3 predictions. Breaking things in, we have game number 1. Heather and her Blitzkrieg Jezebels, 1 win, 1 loss, 0 ties, up against Chris and his Remnants, 0 wins, 2 losses, 0 ties. This game is going to be a beatdown by both of them. Heather has a lot of massive guns, and Chris with his Thunderhawk can almost throw back the same amount of damage with 1 mech. Heather has not had to do a whole lot of upgrades on her mechs themselves, so she has that advantage coming in, pretty much just having gunnery skills or mobility skills being added. Chris has had to do a few upgrades. That Rifleman's gone and replaced with a really potent Warhammer. So I think this is going to be a lot closer than his other games were. I have promised, as I did last season, I will not vote for Chris to win the rest of the season. So Blitzkrieg Jezebels, easy call for me anyway. They're going to win 4-3 in a tightly contested match.
I think this is going to be a tightly contested match. I think it's going to be at time. I don't think it's going to be one of our early games that wraps up. No round 5 over and done with in this game. However, I'm also going to agree Blitzkrieg Jezebels picking up a 3-2 victory.
I'm going to become Chris's new target for Don't Call for Me, because this season, I'm rooting for you, Chris. I'm going to disagree with my co-host here, and I'm going to say you got this as a 3-2.
Game number 2, Jay and the Wendigo Night Stalkers, 2 wins, 0 losses, 0 ties, a massive improvement over last season's showing, are up against Brandon's Radiant Raven Raiders. Also, 2 wins, 0 losses, 0 ties. Both of these players are showing extreme strength this season early on. The Wendigo's Night Stalkers have played some really solid opponents, and Brandon's Radiant Raven Raiders have done so as well. This is a hard call for me. I am going to have to call this for Brandon. I think he's going to go 3-0. It's going to skyrocket him into the top 8. And it's going to be a 3-1.
All right, yeah, I agree. Jay is just ripping things up this year. He's got a superb lance. He's picking up like gunnery skills already because he hasn't had to do much modification or adjustment. That's going to put him ahead of the curve. And I think he's going to take home a 3-2 victory.
Jay's come out of the gate this year swinging, not like last year. I think Jay's got a point to prove, and I'm with you, Brett. Jay's taking this 3-2, 100%.
Game number 3, Matt and his Cats Cavalry, 2 wins, 0 losses, 0 ties, are up against Darren and the Teddy Bear Parade, 2 wins, 0 losses, 0 ties. I would love to say that Cats Cavalry is extremely powerful, but to be absolutely honest, it was mostly good dice against me. He ran me over like he wasn't even trying because his dice were ridiculously hot. Darren with his Clanners, that is a hard force to fight up against, especially with that Kodiak. I'm going to actually say in this game, Matt has got good skill, his tactics were sound. I don't think he's going to be able to beat Darren and the technology he's bringing this early in the season. Teddy Bear Parade are going to win, and it's going to be a 3-2 victory, but the remaining mechs on both sides are going to be badly mauled.
Well, I definitely agree. The Clanners are bringing it this game, and Cat is going to get spanked, eaten by the Bears. It's going to be Grumpy Bear all day long. I think this is going to be probably a 4-2 for the Teddy Bears, although I couldn't tell you which ones. I do know that Kodiak, having picked up combat wisdom, is not going to be easy to kill.
What can I say? Teddy Bear Parade, got a Kodiak. I love the Kodiak. So I'm going to call this one straight up for Darren as well. 3-2.
Game number 4, the Dead Man's Hands are kind of not doing so well this season. 0 wins, 2 losses, 0 ties. They're up against Jared in the League of Robots. 2 wins, 0 losses, 0 ties. Another Clanner with no losses. I would love to say that this is going to be an easy game for me, and it's not. I'm looking at Jared's Lance, and I'm going, that Ice Ferret has got me very nervous with 4 Clan medium pulse lasers, a targeting computer moving 7-11-7. It's going to be a tough fight. I think I'm going to win. I have to call myself to win, but I think it's going to be a 4-3. It's going to be the last moment, and hopefully I can knock out his last mech before he takes out my last mech.
Well, I want to say that it's going to be 4-3, but I think you're going to leave an elemental alive with like 2 or 3 points of damage left. So I think this is going to end up being a 4-2 League of Robots victory.
I have to agree with Brett again. I think it's going to be a 4-2 League of Robots. Dead Man's Hand, Lee, you're working that Lance to be in where you want it to be, but it's not quite there yet. And, I mean, League of Robots is sitting there with his clan tech, and he's now got his Lance to where he wants it. And he's got a targeting computer to go with those 4 medium pulses. It's going to be a real pain in the butt. So, agreeing with Brett on this one, and it'll be 4-2.
Game number 5. We have Cal and the Pit Vipers. 0 wins, 2 losses, 0 ties. Up against Devon and the 1st Merrick Militia, sitting in the same position. 0 wins, 2 losses, 0 ties. I really like the Pit Vipers. I like their lance that's strong. The 1st Merrick Militia has not had much luck. I still haven't got a chance to watch these guys play all that much. I do really like the Pit Vipers Lance, so on paper, I am going to give this one to the Pit Vipers. I'm going to say it's going to be a 3-1, mainly because I think the Vipers, their Lance is going to start gelling. And I think Devin still has another game before his Lance gels.
Maybe not voting against you, but I also think it's going to be a Viper 3-1 victory in this one. I think you called it exactly what it's going to be. The Fafnir is going to run and have a good day as long as it doesn't lose its head or have both Gauss rifles explode and just fry the pilot.
I'm with both of you on this one as well. I think that the Pit Vipers are in a good position with what they've got, and that First Merrick aren't quite there yet. I want to say 4-1 as well, Brett.
Either way, it's going to be a good match because they're both similar scores, so it should be fun and enjoyable.
Yep, absolutely.
Game number 6. Alexander brings the Wolf Pack, our B-side champion defender. 0 wins, 2 losses, 0 ties, stumbling a little bit. He's up against Phil and Hogan's Heroes with 2 bye wins, 0 losses, 0 ties. I'd love to see Hogan's Heroes are going to like continue their win streak, but unless Alex breaks a leg or something, they're going to at least have to stand on the field and shoot at each other. I'm going to have to say Alex is going to get his first win, and it's going to be a... Alex is pretty aggressive. I am going to say 4-2 win.
I got a feeling that this is going to be a massive game where Phil's like, hey, I'm playing. I haven't actually played a league game yet, so I don't know what I'm doing. I believe he's very well versed in regular play and Alpha Strike and stuff like that because he did win our draft day. But I think Alex is going to run up and just kick him in the shins, punch him in the nose, and throw down just to throw him off his game with a 4-3 victory.
Yeah, this one. Hopefully, Hogan's can actually make it onto the table this time, and his opponent doesn't have some unfortunate mishap. Alex does have.
Even if Alex has a broken leg, I'm bringing him in a wheelchair.
Dude, you're getting a game
in a row.
Yeah, we don't you're getting a game. Complex. I feel like, he loses and misses another one and wins another one by nobody showing up. It's going to give him a complex and nobody wants to play him. But I doubt that's the case at all. I think Alex has the experience, and I think that he's got the know-how and he's got enough seasons under his belt. But I like Phil's lance. His makeup of his lance is really good. And having that Cerberus, having that the Sad Cat, he's also got the what is it?
Isn't he the one with the Uziel?
He has an Uziel that's been faction teched, and he has the Bandersnatch. He's the one who has the Bandersnatch as well. And that's a mech people just don't see. I think that that might throw Alexander off a bit. Throw in Phil being the new guy and new guy's beginner luck. I'm going to give it to Phil as a 2-1.
Game number 7, Laura and the Thumper's Revenge, our second Battle Babes Lance, 2 wins, 0 losses, 0 ties, are up against Todd with the NAISCIT. 1 win, 1 loss, 0 ties. Laura has won both of her games playing the Lance the way she wanted to play it right at the beginning. She had a bit of a struggle with her first game getting her Rakshasa where she wanted it, but she spent a lot of time in the last 2 games figuring out exactly how she wants to play them. I don't think Todd has ever seen an MML or what it can do, and with that skill upgrade that Laura picked up, to be able to get the longbow across the field faster, I think those Tandem Charge and Inferno missiles out of the SRM packs are going to rip Todd to pieces. I'm going to say it gets at least 1 kill, so it is going to be a 2-0 Thumper's Revenge win.
I want to see this game have a bunch of turns. If it does, I'm pretty confident that Thumpers are going to just take the revenge and go and lay a beating down. I'm going to call a 3-1 victory for the Bunnies this time.
Laura's been on a tear with her Thumpers this year. She's hammering people down. Todd just came off of a win. He's probably feeling pretty confident. And I'll play devil's advocate on this one. I'll give Todd benefit of the doubt and say that those Gauze rifles are going to do some work on that newly acquired Night Star that he picked up last round, or after game 1. Well, I'm going to say Nace CIT with a 2-1 victory.
I tell you, though, that Sagittaire would have been a really beautiful offset versus that longbow with the MMLs.
Yep.
That Sagittaire would be perfect to go up against that.
But a Night Star, you can't go wrong.
Nope.
So it's not like he downgraded, he just kind of sidestepped with a different mech.
It just went to something different. Range versus reliability.
Game number 8. Scott with the Devil's Brigade. 0 wins, 2 losses, 0 ties. Up against Justin's Tin Man's Tin Cans. 1 win, 1 loss, 0 ties. Well, I know Justin's play. Scott I haven't watched enough of, so I really can't say. I think Scott's had a little bit of a bad bit of luck to lose 2 games. And Justin's, split it 50-50. I am going to say that Scott, being a new player, is due a win. I'm going to say the Devil's Brigade are going to beat Justin's Tin Cans, but it's going to be tight. 3-2 at time, and I think it's going to be like the last round that the last kill is decided.
I really like the Tin Cans. But that being said, I think Scott's going to come out and almost be reckless. I think he's going to try and really reach for the win, but he's going to manage to pull it out as a 2-1 victory for Devil's Brigade.
Scott is coming into this with 2 heavy Gauss rifles, and we know those do a little bit better damage the closer your target is, and Justin's running a Battle Master with a sword that wants to get in your face. It kind of plays right into where Scott wants you as well, especially with that penetrator with all the medium pulses as well in the night sky. I'm going to call this one, for as much as I want to see Justin win because I love the Battle Master with a sword. I'm calling it for Scott, and we're going to say it's going to be a 3-2 victory for the Devil's Brigade.
Game number 9. Andre's Renshield Dragoons, 1 win, 1 loss, 0 ties, are facing off with our Brett and the first Drakons with 0 wins. Brett, you've played 2 really tough teams. That is why you're sitting at a 1 loss, 1 tie. I think you're going to be able to turn things around, at least on paper, because you know your lance, you know your tech, and you know the league inside and out, helping break the rules and balance them off. I'm going to actually call this one to be a first Drakons win. I think Drakons will beat the Dragoons, but it's going to be a 3-1 because I think you're going to get some good dice rolls. I'm feeling lucky for you with these dice draws this week.
I mean, my games are usually like 4-2. I almost never don't lose at least 2 max. It's just the way I play. I'm way too aggressive. But I believe that you're probably on the right track. I think it's going to be 4-2 for me, but I couldn't tell you which 2 I'm going to lose for sure. And if he gets a little bit of dice right, then it could easily be 4-2 for him. But I can't vote against myself in this.
I don't think, given your lance, that his stealth armor is going to take effect a little bit versus your Viking, but I don't think it's going to matter that much when the rest of your lance is doing what it does. So I'm going to say that you're going to win this as well, and I'm going to say it's going to be a 3-2 because you are aggressive, especially with that Black Knight.
Game 10. We have Will with the Fenrir's Frostfangs. 0 losses, 2 bye-losses, 0 wins due to some real-life issues that have made gaming difficult. Up against Carlo and the Alshane Regulars, who has a record of 0 wins, 2 losses, 0 ties. Well, due to the fact we're not 100% positive whether or not Will be able to attend due to his real-life situation, I am going to call this as a bye win for Carlo. I really hope they do get to play, and I really hope I'm proven wrong, because Will is a fun person to watch play and to just have around. We'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, it's a little hard to call. Will has success when he's there, and it's just a shame that he hasn't been able to be a part of it yet. I'm really looking forward to the first game that he shows up. It seems like things are on the way for success. Now, Carlo has been awesome to just kind of walk around and chat with and see how the games are going. I actually think this is probably going to be a 2-1 Alshane Regulars victory.
Can I put in a side vote just in case, or a side prediction just in case Will is available?
Yeah, make your actual call.
Okay, so if they do actually get to play, I actually think Will's going to win. Will has a good lance. I've seen some of the skill spends he sent in. They're good. I'm going to say the Fenrir's Frostfangs are going to win that if they do get to face with a 2-1 victory.
Yeah, it's hard to vote against it. I think he's just going to be a little rusty, which is why I was voting for the regulars. If he had played his first 2 games, I would be voting for the Frostfangs for sure in this match.
Yeah, that archery is just gonna be like putting on a pair of, like your worn-in comfy slippers. That's gonna earn him a ton of damage.
On the same note, Alshane's has the Thunderhawk that has favored weapon. So he's got the advantage of being able to be coming in with a gunnery skill right off the hop. He also just got that Blackhawk Coup, and the Blackhawk Coup is a, as far as intersphere mechs that imitate clan technology, it's a great mech for sure. I'm going to call this one for Carlo and the Alshane regulars, but I'm going to say it's going to be a 3-1.
Game number 11, we have Aaron with the Neon Beatons. 2 wins, 0 losses, 0 ties. They're going to square off against Corey's Ansgar's Outlaws. 1 win, 1 loss, 0 ties. Now, everyone knows Aaron and I have a great rivalry that's been going on for 2 whole seasons, moving into season 3. However, it's hard to argue with Aaron's success. The Neon Beatons are going to win this game. It's going to be the score that I think might be a bit shocking. I think it is going to be a 4-3, because I think Corey's is going to catch Aaron off guard, because Aaron plays a pretty static game. He's pretty predictable.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron had a very Aaron type game. He played exactly as I knew he would in my match against him. There was no move that he didn't make that I wasn't like, yeah, he's going to go here. Yeah, he's going to go there. Now, that being said, he is running a Clan Lance that has the potential to just dish a metric F ton of damage in a turn. If he can get the turn where he just stands the Nova, he's dumping 10 heavy medium lasers into something on relatively decent numbers, and he's going to do it. Because even if he gets some damage back, he is going to melt something with like 80, 90 damage. That being said, I think this is probably going to be a game where he loses 2 units, like he should, to Corey's Ansgar's Outlaws, 4-2 beaten win.
If Corey's dice are on fire like they were during that game with the Kenkazi, there's nothing Beaton could do to stand up against that, because it was insane. But Beaton has more years of experience playing the game, and he's got, right off the bat, because of pulse lasers and targeting computers, he's got better to hit numbers. I think that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for Corey to overcome. As much as I want to say for my boy that it's going to be his victory, I think that Aaron's going to pull this one out as a 4-2.
Game number 12, we have Gary's Red Sun regulars. 2 wins, 0 losses, 0 ties. They're representing one of our clan forces. They're meeting and facing off against Jeff and the Riston's Rogues. 2 wins, no losses, 0 ties, and our defending A-side champion. This one breaks my heart. Really, it does. Gary is always been one of my favorite teams. He is a B-side contender for the championship. But Jeff was in the A-side playoffs season 1, won the A-side finals season 2, and I think he designed his lance specifically, right from word go, to beat clanners. So I'm going to have to say Jeff continues his winning ways. I think Gary's going to put up a good fight, though. It's going to be 3-2.
This is the game of the week. If there's one game that people should be checking in on, stopping by, looking, and watching for, this is it. Both of these players are currently sitting as A-side top contenders. Gary has that clan tech, and he's just running roughshod with it. However, Jeff started with a 4-mech C3 Lance and has got everything pretty much built the way he needs it to, and knows exactly how to make that Lance work the way he wants. And those Einarch pods can really make a huge difference when you're not expecting it. That being said, I think it's still going to be a Riston's victory, but I think it's also going to be a 3-2, just like you called.
Yeah, that's about the gist of it. I think Gary's got the tech, but Jeff has the counter tech with the Narc pods and Haywire, and I think that's going to prove to be a challenge. I think it's not going to be a high scoring game. I think it'll be probably a 2-1 for Ristons.
Game number 13, we have Galen and the Kenkazi. 0 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie. They're up against JP's Condos Janissaries. 2 wins, 0 losses, 0 ties. Galen's been struggling a little bit from his rookie season last year, where he was very solid right off the get-go. This season, he's struggling a bit, though he did have a very impressive outing against you, Brett, where he pretty much had the game in the bag until you were able to claw back out for that tie. JP, on the other hand, with the Condo Janissaries, his lance is tuned again. I think he might actually be an A-side championship team this year, so I'm going to say it's going to be the Condos Janissaries. Galen is struggling. I'd like to see him turn it around, but I think it's going to be at least another week or two before we see that. And I'm going to say it's going to be a 4-2 because JP just never takes his foot off the gas pedal. It's just pure aggression with him.
Have you been watching JP play? He is such a defensive player. I don't know who you're talking about. I do believe the plasma rifles are going to be a sudden surprise for Galen. So we'll see how this plays out. But I think it is probably going to be a 3-2 Condos Janissaries victory.
Galen's not quite tweaked that lance where it needs to be yet to be fully networked. Condos has all the ECM that he really needs to make sure that nothing happens for the spotting from that maelstrom. All around, I think that JP's rolling Wall of Death, that 464 Wall of Death is going to take it to Galen's Kenkazi, unfortunately, and we're probably going to see this be a 3-1 victory.
I'm still super surprised and supportive of that 585 Maelstrom spotter in a 75 tonner.
Oh, it's a great mech. I think Galen's got a very strong lance, or will have in about probably week 5. But just like the Clanners, you start off with those points, and when you don't start off with your tech being hot and ready to go right off the bat, and you've lost those 4 points at the very beginning, I had problems with the Comstar because I wasn't ready to go right off the hop.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue, is that lack of complete network. If he had the complete network to start, it'd be a completely different game for Galen for sure. But having to try to work his way into it, that's slowing him down.
Yep, first 4 or 5 games are going to be tough.
But when he gets that network, he's going to be a force to contend with, I think.
Game number 14, we have Hamilton with Fox Knights. 1 win, 1 loss, 0 ties. Up against Chris's Paxton Pathfinders. 0 wins, 2 losses, 0 ties. I like cheering for these underdogs. I really do. I think Chris has got a very good lance. I'm not quite 100% sure where he's going with it, and I'm not 100% sure he knows where he's going with it. Just like myself, you kind of drag the mechs in that you think are going to work, and then they don't gel quite the way you think they're going to. Hamilton's lance is tough. I think with 1 win, 1 loss, he has really worked himself into the feel of the way league play happens. Though when I played Chris last season, he had some really interesting tactics and was a tough player. I'm going to say this is going to be a very close game, a 2-1 for the Knights, because I think Chris is still feeling out his lance. I think he's still got at least a game or 2 before he's fully comfortable.
Mirroring on that, Hamilton's Knights are definitely where he wants them to be. He's just had some opponent issues. That being said, he will do well. Chris's Paxton's Pathfinders have a lance that is still trying to figure out what it wants to do and what it wants to be. I think Chris is going to have an enjoyable season, but I think it might be a bit of an uphill struggle again for him. He will have fun. He will put up a fight. He almost had a bunch of the Abishai mechs down, just he couldn't group his shots. So he was going internal on 3 or 4 different locations. If he'd grouped it up a little better, he could have had an easy 2 or 3 kills in that game, which is showing his growth as a player. I think this is probably also going to be a 2-1 victory for the Knights, but it could easily flip the other way if Chris just has some decent grouping.
Chris's new Marauder 2, it's kind of like an Inner Sphere Stone Rhino with ERPBCs instead of Gauss rifles. I think that's going to make a big difference for Chris in this game. I think having that extra oomph and the ability to fire it all, it's going to make a huge difference for what he's able to actually put down on like what he happened with versus the Bashies where he just couldn't finish something off. I still think that Hamilton has it with the C3I Lance Link, and I think that's going to pose a little bit of problem for Chris. But I think we're looking at probably a 3-2 victory for Fox Knights this time around.
So, Brett, you'd mentioned earlier that the game of the week is going to be the Red Suns Irregulars versus Jeff and the Red Suns Rogues. I'm thinking game 15 might be a contender for that. We have Jeff's Kells Keshik, 1 win, 1 loss, 0 ties, up against John and the Vengeful Ones, 1 win, 1 loss, 0 ties. And the reason why I'm saying this is John has fixed one of the mechs that I was really concerned about in the Lancelot by swapping to Ferrofibrous and getting up to almost max armor. He's really plugged a bit of a hole, which he won't be able to do with the Battle Cobra because he's already used an engineering skill on it. He cannot fix its massive weakness of armor. But if he keeps the darn thing moving, he has the accuracy to dump 70 to 100 points of damage into Jeff's mechs every round. Jeff, your plasma might be a complete wild card for John. Even though he knows the plasma rifles really well, you don't know which mech's being targeted. Once you waddle that Fafnir in there with its 4 plasma rifles, who knows what's going to happen? Right there, 10 points of damage, 1d6 heat. John has to really be careful about who he fires, what he fires at. You might completely stymie his options. I'm going to say this is actually going to be a tie. I think it's going to be a 3-3 tie.
I think this is probably going to be and now this is just because of what plasma rifles are capable of doing, but a 4-1 Kells Keshik victory. He is going to hit something for like 15 heat every turn, and you're not going to know who it is, and the turn that the elementals are out of position are just going to get picked up by plasma fire doom and gloom.
This one's a tough one for me to call, even though I should be calling this one. Naturally, I should say it's going to be for me. But John's got a point to prove and a bone to pick because last year his Lance is the one that I took out in 5 turns. And he has not forgotten about that happening. Even though he wasn't the one piloting it at the time, he definitely has not forgotten about it. He's out for, as his name suggested, vengeful. He's out for vengeance on this one. He's going to have the better numbers, and I do got to get to him. But if I do get to him, I think Brett's right. The plasma rifles are going to give him an issue if he can't take me out before I get there. And I don't fear his elementals at all because of the plasma rifles. And he knows that, so he's probably either going to hide them or do something else. I'm going to say that this will be a 3-2 victory for me. But only because I don't want to vote against myself. So
it's going to be a tight game. It can go either way. If he's got some good luck at the early couple of rounds at that 20 hexes with the -2 to hit.
And that's the thing. John's not having John luck. Like John's having really, really good luck this season, which is not normal for him. So I have to take that into the consideration of what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, his loss against what was it, Brandon?
Yeah, it was almost a tie.
It was almost a tie, and that was from losing his Battle Cobra early to a lucky shot. His game against Heather showed what his pulse lasers are capable of, because once you hit, who knows where the shot's going to go? It could go to the head, and that's 10 points. It's internal. Who knows what's going to happen at that point? So really, it's not so much going to be dice, because you have great tactics. His tactics are solid. It's going to be really what happens in the first 3 or 4 rounds. If luck happens to be on John's side, it could easily be a 4-1 John win.
If he takes out a mech of mine on the way in on the first 3 turns, because after turn 3 I'm going to be all over him. But if he can take out a mech on the way in, I'm in a rough shape at that point in time. If he can't, then it's all the heat all the time, and I'll be putting, on average, 10 to 15 heat on 2 mechs every turn, because I now have 7 plasma rifles.
Yeah, it's going to be rough.
And then the other factor I got to take into this is I'm currently in the process of painting John's lance, and there's new painted lance syndrome, which is usually the new painted lance syndrome goes, hey, look at me, I'm shiny and new, and I'm going to fuck something up. Sorry.
That's okay. I can note that. Game number 16, the last one of the week. We have Max with the Abishai Avengers. 1 win, 1 loss, 0 ties. Up against Paul in the half cut. A really good clan lance that we were really excited about because it was 4 mechs. Unfortunately, they're at 0 wins, 2 losses, 0 ties. Max has a lot to prove at this point. He was a A-side finalist last season and then stumbled right out the gate and didn't win his next game by a huge margin. It was close. Paul is Paul, who plays a good game, unpredictable game, but sometimes gets hyper-focused on something and ends up losing because he's not seeing the whole table. I'm going to have to say Max takes this, not because I think that Max is necessarily the more experienced player or the better player. I think in this situation, he's the more composed player. So it's going to be a win for Abishai. I think it's going to be a 3-2 because Paul's got a good lance and he just upgraded one of his mechs to offset some of the armor weaknesses. It's going to be a good match.
I really like the Shadowcat as a mech. So Paul putting that in instead of the Fenris, the Ice Ferret, I see as an improvement, but it's kind of a lateral improvement. He could have gone a couple of different ways, and keeping in mind the 2 losses that he's got is against 2 people that are 2-0 for victory so far. Paul is a super good player. He's been playing for longer than Max has been alive. However, he also works 2 jobs and tends to show up a little bit on the tired side. I think that's probably going to be one of the big factors here. And as such, I think it's going to be an Abishai's 4-2 victory, although it could borderline on a 4-3, depending on if Paul gets a little bit of Paul luck.
The match that Max stumbled on was versus Jared with also running Warden clans, was running Warden clans, and Paul was running Crusader clans. Paul's coming out of the gate with not quite as many large pulse lasers as Max fought last time, but he is coming out of the gate with a 3rd mech that has a targeting computer. So that's going to add 3 mechs that are going to have better numbers than what Max has to begin with. And Paul has mobility with that other mech to keep up with. Kronos is a mobility that Max has. I think Paul is due for his win, and I think that he's going to come out the gates this one, and he's going to take it as hard as he can to the Abishai Avengers, and I think we're going to see this be a 3-2 victory for Half Cut.
So that's our show for this week, folks, and doing our normal summary. I have to say this season we are, unified in a lot of our calls. When we're opposites, we have some darn good reasons as to why they're there. I think some of the slipping teams are going to start picking up wins. because their lances are starting to gel the way they want to. It could be a game or two before that, but I can see some definite improvements coming up with some of those slipping teams. Hopefully myself included. I'm hoping to get my first victory. We'll see how it goes. But thank you so much for joining us, everybody, and you have a great night, and we will see you on game day Sunday.
Yeah, it's great to see everybody out again, and I'm looking forward to our week 3. Can't wait to get in there and see what John and I end up at for a score, and I can't wait to see the scores of everybody else's games coming up. Get those skill spends in earlier, guys. If you have the opportunity, you know what you're looking for. Try to get them in a little bit quicker so that it's not such a rush for the admin team here, for Brett and Lee and other Jeff, original Jeff. And other than that, have a fantastic evening, and we will talk to you next time.
I've been really impressed so far because it's been a lot of good matches. When people sit down at the table, there hasn't been any kind of blowouts or really awkward, I just got this person and I just got smoked. Everybody seems to be having good games, and can't say enough about everybody really gelling this year. It's been a good season so far. 2 games in, nothing really to worry about. And it is just surprising at how much work it is when you go from 22 teams to 32 teams. So, put your stuff in early, please, and we can get back to you. Otherwise, have a wonderful evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and help us push towards 500 is our next kind of milestone that I think we're looking at. Have a good evening. Talk to you later.